My brother, my sister, close my eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel this moment as if the universe is whispering in your ear, because perhaps it is indeed. There are rare moments in life when a forgotten truth resurfaces from the shadows, not to scare us, but to free us. Today is one of those moments. What you are about to find out has the potential to touch your life in a way you may never have imagined. I know it may sound unusual, but I ask you, listen with an open heart. How many times have you wondered why, despite so much effort, so much dedication, so much faith, prosperity seems to slip between your fingers like fine sand? Why do some seem to attract opportunities, resources, and good news like magnets, while others fight daily for a small financial truce? The explanation, though unexpected, may be around you right now. It is not in the finance books, not in the empty promises of instant enrichment. It is in something so intimate, so yours, that you may never have suspected. Your room, your bed, the place where you rest your body and rest your soul is not just a furniture, a place to sleep. It is a point of intersection between the visible and the invisible. An entry or escape point for the energies that shape your destination. Since time immemorial, distant cultures have realized that rest space carries more than comfort, carries strength, direction, resonance. And that's exactly what Padre Pio revealed to his closest disciples, a truth as simple as powerful, hidden in the middle of sight. In his moments of deep contemplation, he understood that the room, the sanctuary of rest, is a kind of vibrational altar where fate begins to be written night after night. His words were clear. The positioning of the bed, headboard, and elements around are decisive in a person's spiritual ability to attract or repel prosperity. What he has revealed is something that is not in common teachings. They are deeper layers, almost always ignored by schools and churches. But now this truth returns, like a silent and subtle wave, because it's time to remember. It's time to wake up. What I want to show you today is not just a guidance to change the position of a furniture. It is a key that can open doors that you didn't even know were locked. And this key begins with a simple question. How is your vibrational field while you sleep? During sleep, our body relaxes, our conscious mind dissolves, and the subconscious assumes command. But what few know is that in this state, we become like an antenna. We capture, transmit, we are shaped. The dreams we have, the sensations we feel when you wake up, the events that unfold over the next few days, all can be deeply influenced by the energy state where we rest. Your bed can be a sanctuary or a vibrational black hole. Have you ever felt upon waking a strange feeling, as if you were more tired than lying down? It has gone through phases where it seemed that everything crashed, everything stuck, and you couldn't even understand why. Sometimes the answer is in this sacred place we call the room, because it is there every night that many of the blessings or challenges we will face in the following days. Father Pio observed this on countless occasions. He received letters, reports, testimonies from people who, after years of financial blockages, found the transformation by making a simple change, repositioning their bed. And he didn't talk about magic. I spoke of frequency. He spoke of spiritual realignment. Padre Pio's knowledge, far from isolated, is echoed in millennial traditions. Ancestral peoples of different continents have always valued the spiritual organization of the home. In African tribes, in Buddhist monasteries, in villages in the interior of India, there were very clear guidelines on where and how to rest. Today, this wisdom is available to you, and it begins with conscience. Have you ever wondered why certain environments bring peace, while others run out of us? Why do some houses seem to house abundance and lightness, while others, even decorated with beauty, exhale sadness and empty? The difference is in the vibration. And the center of this vibration, according to Padre Pio, is the bed. He taught that during sleep, the spiritual field of the person expands. This is when the spirit, partially disconnected from matter, comes into contact with other dimensions. If the surrounding environment is energetically misaligned, which should be a night of renewal, becomes a moment of escape from blessings. Think now with love. Where is your bed positioned? Are your feet turned directly to the door? Does your headboard touch a wall that shares space with the bathroom? Are there electronic devices, old or forgotten objects around? All of this directly interferes with your vibrational field. Padre Pio was firm in saying, avoiding direct alignment with the door is essential. The door is an energy transition point. If the bed is in this direct line, the energy flow acts as a flow channel, draining blessings and spiritual resources that should be stored during rest. More than that, he taught that the headboard should be supported on a solid wall, without contact with pipes or water circuits. Water, especially in motion, is one of the most powerful energy conductors, and its continuous action can undo all the work of spiritual alignment that occurs at night. This is not superstition. It is subtle physics. It is practical spirituality. The human energy field responds to environmental stimuli. The bed, being where we spend a third of our lives, is the main anchor of this influence. I will tell you the story of Clarice, a retired teacher from Fortaleza. For years, she fought inexplicable financial blocks. There was never a lack of food, but it was never left over either. After attending a lecture on Padre Pio's hidden teachings, she did something simple. She changed her position bed, pushed out objects that brought sad memories, and placed a plant in the left corner of the room, a growth symbol. In less than 2 months, he received an unexpected proposal to teach private lessons online. Today, over 70, he helps children from all over Brazil and says he never felt so alive and prosperous. These stories are not fairy tales. These are manifestations of what happens when you leave the autopilot and consciously decide to cue-size your reality from the space where you give yourself the most. Sleep. You don't have to change home. You don't have to buy anything expensive. What it needs is consciousness, and consciousness is the first step to true prosperity. Father Pio used to say that the soul speaks as the body sleeps, and it is in this silence of the body that the deepest messages can be heard, as long as the environment is willing to listen to you. What many do not understand is that sleep is not just a physiological rest, but a daily ritual of energy rebirth. Each night, we have a chance to restart, clean, align, but this only happens when the place we rest collaborates with this subtle process. According to the spiritual records left by Padre Pio's closest disciples, there are 3 forces that act simultaneously on us as we sleep: the earthly magnetic field, the vibrational currents of the environment, and the spiritual waves of the soul itself. These 3 forces can act in harmony or in conflict, and the point of greatest impact is where you lie down your head. You may never have thought about it, but as long as you sleep, the subconscious is scanning everything. The texture of the air, the nearby objects, the directions, the sounds, and even what is behind the wall. It is as if your soul became a radar, and everything she realizes, she records, and everything that records manifests. That is why Padre Pio emphasized with such seriousness the concept of geometry of grace. He believed that each room carries a specific type of energy, and that by organizing space consciously, you create not only comfort, but a mirror of the divine order. It's not just aesthetics. This is often intended for vibrational consistency. I will tell you now the story of Benedito, a shoemaker from a small town in the interior of Maranhão. As much as he worked day and night, his store never seemed to get out of place. Customers came, but sales didn't close. There was always something. And as much as he tried to renew inventory, change the commercial point, advertise on the networks, nothing worked. One day during a mass, he heard an old friar comment on Father Pio's less-known teachings. That touched his heart. He returned home and watched his room for the first time with other eyes. The bed was facing directly to the door. Next to the headboard, a cracked old mirror. On the floor, old boxes with paid and unpaid accounts accumulated over the years. It was a true archive of scarcity. That same night, he made a choice. Changed the position bed. covered the mirror with a white cloth. He withdrew the boxes. He cleaned the room with water and coarse salt. He prayed in silence. 3 days later, an old client appeared with a large order for custom shoes. In a week, 2 more came. 2 months later, Benedito opened his second store. With the help of his own children, who had returned from the south of the country after years away, he says that more than money, he recovered the faith. And more than customers, he felt that he was receiving what was always his right, but was retained by an invisible blockade. These blocks, according to Padre Pio, are no punishment or evidence. They are simply energetic echoes of wrong alignments. And when you realize, you don't force anything, you just stop resisting what is already yours. Another often neglected point is what Padre Pio called the anchor of abundance. It is the field created by the combination of what is at the foot of the bed and what is on the headboard. According to him, the energy that enters the room through the door needs to be welcomed, not confronted. When the bed's feet point to the door, this energy is not welcomed, it is expelled, channeled straight out like water dripping through a drain. When the body is slightly diagonally, the energy enters, circulates, and sets in. This creates a receptive field, capable of attracting not only money, but also people, ideas, and opportunities. Padre Pio noted that this repositioning was often accompanied by dreams, vivid dreams, dreams with messages, dreams with answers. He called this phenomenon soul convergence with fate. People who did the repositioning correctly often reported not only financial improvement, but emotional clarity, release of trauma, resolution of old conflicts. One of these cases happened to Joanna, a 44-year-old woman who lived inside Goiás. After repositioning her bed according to spiritual guidelines, she began to dream, night after night, with a blue house she had never seen. In the 3rd week, when visiting a craft fair, he found a booth that sold blue fabrics just like those of his dreams. The owner of the booth invited her to collaborate with him. The project worked so well that today it is the co-owner of a decoration store that exports to 3 countries. All this because of a change, a decision, a symbolic gesture of reunion with the very energy of creation. And maybe you, who are listening to me now, are you thinking, can this also happen to me? The answer is not perhaps. The answer is yes, because the energy it transforms does not choose names, surnames, or cities. She responds to the intention. She responds to the action. So if this message has touched your heart, if something inside you is awakening right now, I ask you to subscribe to the channel now, not like who pushes a button by usual, but as one who makes a gesture of commitment to his own awakening. When you subscribe, you are not just supporting this work. It is telling yourself, I agree to learn, I accept to remember, I accept to prosper. And I want to ask you something very special. Write in the comments a phrase that represents your new intention, but not any sentence, something that comes from the bottom of the soul. It can be simple, it can be symbolic, something like, today my harvest starts, or my room is my temple, or I'm ready to receive what is mine. This phrase will serve as a spiritual anchor. Like a seed thrown into the fertile ground, the energy of the universe reads intentions, not just words. And here, in the comments, we created an egregore, a collective force of transformation. Father Pio, in his letters and conversations reserved with his most intimate disciples, has recorded something that few had the courage to study in depth: the invisible traps that certain bed positions can generate. For him, the 4th was a kind of sacred territory, a battlefield where beneficial energies and deleteries dispute the right to influence his life. And when the bed is misplaced, this battle is already lost. The first position he insisted was what he called flow alignment. This is the position where the person's feet, when lying down, point directly to the bedroom door. This configuration, according to your observations, creates a vibrational line of continuous output, as if all the blessings that approach your aura were pulled immediately out. This is not an isolated belief. In Oriental traditions, this is known as the position of the corpse, because that was how the bodies were carried out of the rooms. Symbolically, it is a farewell gesture. Sleeping in this position, day after day, is like writing unconsciously a letter to the universe saying, "I'm ready to lose." The second wrist position is more subtle, but equally harmful. It is the bed leaning against a wall that shares with the bathroom, especially if there are pipes or the toilet. Padre Pio saw the bathroom as a space for energy release, a cleaning place, but also disposal. When the headboard touches one of these walls directly, the person's energy field is resting to dispersion waves. Result, you even get blessings, but they run down, get lost, don't fix themselves. Progress comes and disappears, like water in the hands. He said that this kind of position was the most common among people who reported always start but never end. What is missing there is not willpower, but vibrational field of support. And the dangerous third position was called by him intersection zone. It happens when the bed is between two doors, as in some quarters of passage. This position creates what the ancients called the dispersion corridor. The energy enters one door and goes out the other, like a constant airstream. When the bed is in the middle of it, the soul of the person becomes restless, unable to rest deeply. They are people who sleep but do not rest, that wake up tired, who live surrounded by possibilities but nothing materializes. This is the typical configuration of those who live in a permanent state of almost there. After identifying these three fundamental errors, Padre Pio dedicated himself to teaching what would then be the ideal position. And his answer did not come with mystery or theatricality, but with powerful simplicity. The bed must be in a diagonal position in relation to the door so that the person can see it, but without their feet being aligned directly with the entrance. This configuration creates what it called conscious receptivity stance. The diagonal breaks the straight flow of the output and allows the energy between gently to get around the body and settle in. According to him, this position is like a hug from the house to the spirit. It generates energy stability, emotional rooting, and especially vibrational attractiveness. The soul, in resting, understands that it is safe, and this allows the subconscious to access deeper levels of regeneration. But there was one more detail. Padre Pio recommended that the headboard be leaning against a solid wall, preferably facing the east or southeast whenever possible. He said that this direction favored the entry of spiritual light in the early hours of the day, aligning the mind to the purpose and the awakening of abundance. These details, which at first glance may seem only technical or decorative, actually form a precise vibrational equation. The well-positioned bed becomes an adjusted antenna, and when the antenna is tuned, the signs arrive lighter. Prosperity is one of these signs. I will tell you the story of Tamires, a woman who lived with 2 children in a small apartment in Rio de Janeiro. She had been trying to start an online business for 4 years, but always bumped into technical problems, lack of support, or simply discouragement. One day, watching a lecture on the spiritual secrets of the room, she decided to check her own space. The bed was between the door and the window straight, headboard leaning against the bathroom wall. On the same day, she changed everything. It turned the bed at an angle of 45 degrees, changed the wall head. He lit a candle and said a prayer for welcoming the new energy. 3 days later, without any warning, he received a partnership proposal from an influencer who had seen his profile almost by chance. Today, Tamires' small business supports the whole family. These are not coincidences. Father Pio insisted that the human soul is sensitive as water, and like water, it molds to the container. If the room is energetically disorganized, the soul adapts but lives in discomfort. If the space is adjusted, the soul flows with freedom, and where there is spiritual freedom, there is manifestation of abundance. He also recommended attention with the objects around the bed. Nothing should be randomly placed. Sad images, portraits of absent or deceased people, electronics disconnected but attached to the outlet, all this interfere. In place of these things, he suggested growth symbols, plants, crystals, words written by hand that represent what you want to attract. The room, he said, is the silent temple of the Renaissance, and every detail speaks to the invisible. Another touching point in his teachings was the energy of the sheets, pillows, and covered. Padre Pio believed that everything that touches the body while he sleeps carries a memory. Therefore, it recommended that these items be consecrated, not in the traditional religious sense, but in the sense of being used with intention. As he tidied up, he suggested mentally to say, "That tonight brings me wisdom, abundance, and healing." This simple phrase, repeated day after day, becomes a spiritual programming, and the space begins to vibrate differently. Over time, it becomes magnetic. Now think with love. You remember the last time you woke up feeling that something good was coming, even without knowing what. This kind of sensation is not random. It is a symptom of a balanced vibrational field. When this happens, the person feels, not knowing how, being expected by something bigger, and in fact it is. The good news is that this state does not depend on previous wealth, status, education. It depends on a decision. The decision to reposition, reorder, to reset the space where you rest, and especially the decision not to sleep in energy sabotage fields. Father Pio taught that the most sacred is not in the great stone temples, but in the small gestures we make with our heart awake. He said that every house can become a monastery of light if there is intention, silence, and reverence, and that every room, no matter how size or simplicity, can be transformed into a point of spiritual attraction. He knew that the forces of the invisible world do not move by human rules, but frequency, consistency, and sincere vibration. This is why many of their rituals did not require rare incense or religious artifacts. The essentials for him was that the person did everything with truth. One of the most powerful teachings transmitted by him concerned the consecration of the bed. For Padre Pio, this was the silent altar of every human being. This place where the soul every night detaches itself from the worries of the world and meets the source of everything. If this altar is misplaced, mistreated, forgotten, or dirty, it is like trying to light a candle inside a well. Therefore, he advised that before bedtime a small ritual was made, something intimate, brief, but deeply effective. First, that the bed was tidy with conscious hands. No hurry, no distraction. As long as the sheet stretched, the person said, though mentally, "Here rests my body, and if he rests with peace, my soul will fly lightly." This, according to him, is already beginning to clean the accumulated voltage field of the day. After that, he recommended that a candle be lit. It may even be a small candle of those simple, and placed for a few minutes on the nightstand or in a safe place in the room. The candle, for Padre Pio, represented spiritual clarity. She was not only a symbol of faith, but also a lighthouse for the spirit to find the right way during sleep. He said, "The soul does not sleep like the body. It travels, and it must know where it came from to know where to go back." The flame, as simple as it may be, serves as a vibrational reference point. It's like a lighthouse for navigators. After lighting the candle, he taught a simple prayer that can be recited in a voice low or mentally, always sincerely. May this room become a sowing of peace. May this bed be made garden of grace. May I find myself tonight that belongs to me by divine right. May rest purify, may the shadow go, and that at dawn I am renewed, ready to receive. This short and direct prayer has been used by hundreds of people around the world who have decided to experience the realignment of the sleep environment. and the reports are impressive. Lucid dreams, a sense of lightness when waking up, sudden clarity on important decisions, positive coincidences happening the next day. Father Pio also taught that the first moments of the morning are also sacred. Just as at bedtime we prepare the field, upon waking it is necessary to seal this energy so that it remains with us throughout the day. Therefore, he suggested a gesture of gratitude before he even touched his feet on the floor. A thought like, "I woke up, so something still awaits me, something good." This small sentence changes the vibrational frequency of all day. You might even think, have such simple things really power? And this is exactly the beauty of Padre Pio's teaching. He offered no inaccessible secrets. He offered humble tools, loaded with intention, because he knew that the spirit world is not impressed by ostentation. He responds to authenticity. Another important element revealed by him was the use of words of activation. They are not magical words, but words loaded with presence. He suggested that each person choose 3 words that would represent what he wanted to see more present in his life. It can be trust, abundance, health, or peace, opportunity, clarity. These words should be written by hand on a small paper and placed under the pillow as if they were spiritual seeds planted in the fertile field of sleep. He explained that the subconscious reads symbols more strongly than long phrases. 3 words with true energy are worth more than an entire book recited without attention. And over time, you will realize that these words begin to reflect on your attitudes, decisions, and opportunities. The power of the consecrated room is to make the night no longer just a rest space and becomes a time of planting. The day is the harvest, and those who plant conscious reap conscious. Padre Pio also talked about objects that drain energy in the room. He called invisible weight everything that should no longer be there. Clothes that no one wears, broken devices, meaningless accumulated papers, sad memories. All of this creates a stagnation spiral. It is as if the environment constantly repeating the same frequency, preventing new energies from approaching. Therefore, he suggested an act of renewal, choosing a corner of the room and clearing it with intention at least once a week. While cleansing, the person must say that everything that no longer serves leaves. May everything that strengthens me remain. This phrase, repeated with feeling, serves as an energy command. The universe responds to simple and clear commands. Now think, what is there today in your room that represents who you want to be? What kind of image, sound, or object present there feeds your spirit? If the answer is nothing or almost nothing, then that's the chance to start over. Remember, it's not about spending, it is about renewing. Sometimes change a curtain, ward off a furniture, donate a piece of clothing that no longer represents you already changes everything. Because the universe needs to see movement to respond with movement. And this is where the most touching point of Father Pio's teaching is. He said that home is a mirror of the soul, and the room is the most intimate reflex of this mirror. When the room is neglected, it is often because the person has lost faith in himself. But when the room is treated as sacred, this faith comes back. And where there is faith, there is flowering. We are almost coming to the end of this journey. In the next block, I will show you how to energetically seal this new cycle and how to participate in a community of people who are applying these teachings and reaping real fruit. But for now, just breathe and look around. And if this content has awakened something inside you, if you have remembered something you already knew, but you had forgotten, I want to invite you to a simple gesture. Share this video with someone you love, someone who may be feeling aimlessly, without direction. Say only, watch with an open heart. Don't impose it. Invite. Sometimes a breath is enough to rekindle the ember. My brother, my sister, we reach the end of this journey. But what you heard so far does not end with this video. In fact, it is now that it all starts. You were led by a path that Padre Pio drove in silence, far from the spotlight, but with the strength of those who saw the world with spiritual eyes. He believed that the deepest changes do not happen in large temples or spectacular decisions. It happens in silent choices, in the way you get your bed, what you allow or not to enter your room, the way you talk to your soul before bed. What is before you is now a decision. The decision to continue sleeping in a space that may be sabotaging you without you realize, or turn this space into a direct channel with the forces of prosperity. The choice is yours. No one can do this for you. No true blessing comes without the human gesture that invites you to enter. Father Pio said that faith is alive when moving, when it leaves the theory and goes into action, when it leaves the altar from the mouth and passes to the altar of the bed, when prayer becomes practical, when the desire for prosperity translates into reorganization, attention, presence. Maybe right now you have teary eyes. Perhaps a memory emerged from the bottom of my memory. Perhaps your heart has accelerated somewhere in this video. This is not by chance. This is a sign that your soul recognized the truth. And when the soul recognizes, the whole body responds. Do not ignore this call. Now it's time to act. Go to your room. Observe with new eyes. Remember the teachings that Padre Pio conveyed for love and compassion. Reposition your bed diagonally at the door, never with your feet aligned with the exit. Remove the headboard from bathrooms. Get free from objects that carry pain or paralysis. Write your 3 words of power and place under your pillow. Light your candle. Recite your prayer. Recreate your temple. And sleep as those who trust that you are being guided, because it is. In the coming days, note. Pay attention to synchronicities, in the unexpected messages, in unlikely meetings. You will notice that something has changed, small, maybe, subtle, but firm as a seed in the right ground. And this seed will grow because the soil is now fertile, because the field is now clean, because your soul is ready. Now, with humility and truth, I want to ask you something very special. If this message touched your heart, if something here awakened you, subscribe to the channel, but not by habit, not by sympathy. Do this as one who joins a sacred space, because this channel is not just a place for videos. He is a meeting point for souls who decided to live more intently, more consciously, with more prosperity. And if you felt that here there is something more than words, then stay with us. Here, each new video will be like a new lit candle on your journey. Each content will be prepared with the same care with which an altar is prepared, because you deserve it, because you are ready for it. Also, leave your story in the comments. Share with our community what you felt watching this video. Which part did you touch you? What memory came out? What decision did you feel you need to make? You may not have all the answers yet, but just the fact of verbalizing your experience already creates movement. It already opens ways. This space is for that, for real people, living real processes, sharing real learning. And perhaps your comment is the spark that will arouse someone else. Perhaps your sentence is the confirmation someone was asking for prayer. This is how the sacred spreads, of person in person, from soul to soul. And if you want to go further, comment using the following activation phrase: "My soul has found room to prosper." Use this phrase as a spiritual anchor, as a statement that something has already begun, because it really started. And before closing, I want to remind you of something very important. Prosperity is not a prize, it is a frequency. And when you align your internal and external space with this frequency, it just comes, not by magic, but by affinity. Your room now can be this place of tuning, your sleep, this moment of divine programming. And you, this soul awakens that you have chosen, no longer accept scarcity as part of life. Father Pio knew that true faith manifests itself in the details. That holiness begins in the bed tidiness, the way you take care of your rest in the whispered prayer before bed. He taught this because he saw that poverty is often not a lack of money, but lack of vibrational conscience. And when consciousness awakens, fate transforms. From today, that every night yours is a planting, may every dawn bear fruit, may your home be a temple, may your body be altar, may your bed be throne of light. And may you never forget, what is yours by divine right no one can take, only you can deny. But if you say yes, then get ready to receive. With love, truth, and with the joy of knowing that you are with us, I say goodbye for now. But I will be waiting for you in the comments, in the next publications, and especially in your walk of reunion, with the prosperity that is already on its way. Deep peace, full rest, concrete abundance.